Are you looking to avoid root-bound plants and transplant shock, make more efficient use of space, and cut back on the use of plastic? Then you might want to consider soil blocking. And if space is a really big concern, you may even want to consider the 20-cell handheld soil blocker. Hello, this is Stephen from Short Season Garden, and I offer tips and tricks for gardening in any climate, but especially for short seasons like here in Zone 3B, Zone 4A in Eastern Canada. So give my video a thumbs up and a comment, click the notification bell, subscribe to my channel, or you can check me out on Instagram or Facebook at Short Season Garden. As much as I enjoy my double cupping method of starting tomatoes and peppers, I must admit that it does take some space and use some plastic. To try experimenting with something different, I bought myself a 4-cell handheld soil blocker that makes 2-inch soil blocks. So I was very excited when Johnny Selected Seeds gave me their 20-cell handheld soil blocker to review. When plant roots reach the edge of their pot, they start to circle and can become root bound. Also, it can be tricky getting the plants out of the pots without disturbing the roots. In soil blocks, the roots will air prune when they reach the edge of the block, avoiding the circling. Since the plants are not in pots, they can be transplanted without root disturbance. Although there is a bit of a startup cost to the purchase of a soil blocker, with proper care it will last a lifetime. I must admit that there is a learning curve involved in soil blocking, and it can be frustrating for a beginner. I also learned the hard way, especially with the micro blocks, to plant the same kind of seed in each block rather than trying to make sure the right seeds hit the right blocks and then trying to mark them all. It is best to leave space between the blocks to keep the roots from spreading from block to block. Also, if you overcrowd them, it's hard to pick up the blocks without them crumbling. The 3/4-inch blocks made by the 20-cell blocker have the advantage of taking very little space, but they can be tricky to handle and must be very carefully watered from the bottom to keep them from crumbling. My 2-inch soil blocker came with rounded dibbles to make planting depressions. I replaced these with the square dibbles that Johnny sent me with my 20-cell blocker to make depressions to fit the little blocks into. Using the bigger dibbles made it tricky for a newbie to keep the cells from crumbling. Fortunately, I have a friend who is an expert. While he doesn't use some of the complicated recipes you can find online, he helped me mix just the right amount of starter mix and water, so the mixture was wet enough, but not too wet. He also showed me how to pack the mix before pushing in the blocker. And also to give an extra squeeze with the handle to compact it a little more before extracting the blocker. Once I was able to make well-formed 2-inch soil blocks, I transplanted the little blocks with ease. The nice thing about the small soil blocks is that they take a very small footprint, require very little soil, and are not a big loss if you have a low germination rate. If space is an issue and you prefer a one-and-done method, you may want to avoid the small blocks and just use the 2-inch blocker. The biggest disadvantages of soil blocks is that they tend to crumble over time and must be carefully bottom watered and handled gingerly, especially until there is a good root structure to hold them together. Although you can easily tell when watering is needed, they do tend to dry out quickly since all sides are exposed. If you are only starting a few plants and don't want to water every day, you may want to check out one of my videos on double cupping. If you enjoyed the video, Give it a thumbs up and a comment. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you in the next video.